You wanted to find another purpose. What was that purpose?
Learning and knowing what I know now, I would have been able to save his life. Okay, so I want others to be able to have that information, so when they come across a similar circumstance, they'll be able to intervene and save a life, rather than be looking on the other side of it and doing this route. It'd be much better to be engaged and involved and understand what's going on, rather than on the outside looking in and saying what happened. You know, that's a terrible place to be. Well, part of that was part of the problem. I went through another, I would call it probably a depressive episode. You know, I didn't know what it was at the time, but where it just went flat and just, you know, everything kind of fell apart. And then, so I rallied around a bit. I was still doing some stuff with Fox from '95 to 2000 then. And then 2000 rolled around, and then my son went through, you know, his deal, and he died. And then it was just, you know, everything just completely came unglued.
I walked away more knowledgeable of how I can help anybody that is out there seeking help for any type of depression, abuse of illegal drugs or prescription drugs, or even, you know, abusing alcohol. I'd like to think I can at least point them in the right direction now.
As being an athlete as well, I think this can kind of come back to our team, and, you know, we can work with each other, make sure everyone's doing good, and, you know, not be afraid to talk about it with each other. And it was just really good to hear that, you know, even major athletes go through problems, and we can kind of relate to it and, you know, make sure that there aren't any serious problems within the team.
I mean, for one, it was great to hear him speak, you know, to relate to a player that has gone through what he did. And, you know, I mean, as athletes, we do get stressed out a lot, and, you know, at least we have our team to fall back on.
And I made up my mind, I don't care what happens, I'm throwing the ball, I don't care, I don't care what defense they have. And so it was a play action pass, I tucked my head and threw it in a 40-yard completion, and it just lit up. And it was just like, wow, it was amazing. You know, when you leave the game, man, it's interesting. That transition is really tough. And even though I adapted pretty early on, he finally caught up to me. You know, I just didn't feel belonged to anything. I don't know if you've actually use the word fully recover, but I mean to be functional and get back up again to where I wanted to move. I wanted to learn. You know, I started getting a purpose in life again, which is really tough to do. But yeah, the time. I mean, I'm still affected today by it. I mean, you cannot help to. But I see it in a totally different picture now. I understand for what it was, and the circumstances behind it, and, you know, that's an illness that that happens, and unfortunately that's one of the outcomes. And so I've learned to be able to honor him, you know, in his life, and not think so much about the death portion of it, and the work that I'm doing now. I've learned so much about depression that I can't even begin to scratch the surface to start to tell you where, because I knew nothing about it at first. And I was 15 years old. All hell broke loose for me, as you can imagine. And in fact, I got to the point where I didn't want to live either. I could care less.